The Nagarjuni Hills. Deep in the rugged terrain of Bihar, explorers stepped into the darkness of a forgotten cave. They expected to find the usual remnants of early ascetic life, simple rock carvings and basic shelters from the world. But when a single voice broke the silence, the stone did not just echo, it responded with an impossible resonance. The entire structure vibrated, creating a frequency that silenced the mind. What they stumbled upon was not a primitive shelter, but an acoustic machine that defies explanation. What other secrets are waiting in the silence of our past? Here at Echo Mysteries, we dedicate ourselves to amplifying forgotten whispers of archaeology. If this journey into the unknown resonates, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support is the true echo that gives us strength to dig deeper into the ancient mysteries forgotten. Let's uncover the truth. Tell us what you think in the comments. The Mauryan Empire under Ashoka the Great represented an era of unmatched spiritual and architectural ambition across the subcontinent. Picture a solitary Buddhist monk in the 3rd century BC, leaving the scorching heat of Bihar to step inside. Entering the absolute darkness of the Barabar caves, he sits on the perfectly polished, cold granite floor, preparing meditation. He takes a deep, controlled breath and vocalizes a single, sustained mantra, a deep and resonant sacred sound. Om. What happens next defies the natural laws of acoustics. The sacred syllable does not simply travel and then dissipate. Instead, the seamlessly carved monolithic vault catches the chant. It reflects the sound, bends the frequency, and feeds back. The sound waves crash into each other, sustaining the single note for seconds, stretching it beyond human lung capacity. The powerful vibrations physically penetrate the monk's skin, travel through his skeletal structure, and drag his brainwaves into trance. He is no longer controlling the meditation. The living stone is controlling him, but the story deepens even further. These structures were never just simple shelters for wandering ascetics. They were sophisticated instruments designed for a specific purpose. They are highly sophisticated acoustic machines. When experts published their analysis on the acoustical resonances of assorted ancient structures in 2013, the gathered data stunned the scientific community. They discovered that the internal dimensions of the Barabar caves were mathematically engineered to create an exact, dominant resonant frequency of 34.4 Hz. The ancient architects carved solid, unforgiving granite into a precise geometric shape that acts as a flawless acoustic lock. It purposefully traps specific sound bands while filtering out others, generating a prolonged reverberation designed to drastically alter human consciousness. At 34.4 Hz, you do not simply hear a sound, you physically feel it overriding your central nervous system, slowing down your heartbeat and shifting your mental state into profound stillness. A coincidence, or a mathematical blueprint? Carving solid rock with such merciless acoustic precision requires a master-level understanding of wave dynamics and psychoacoustics. They built a neurological manipulation device out of pure stone, centuries before the concept of acoustic engineering even existed in modern textbooks. You can actually test this forgotten science yourself without needing laboratory equipment. The next time you travel to an ancient, enclosed stone temple anywhere in India, do not just casually walk through and look at the intricate wall carvings. Step directly into the innermost sanctum, the Garbhagriha, and stand perfectly still in the dead center. Create a sudden, voiceless sound by clapping your hands aggressively for a single, sharp beat. Alternatively, press your lips together and hum a continuous, incredibly deep low note from your chest. Close your eyes immediately and wait. Feel the heavy, physical vibration rebounding violently off the ancient stone walls and hitting your body. Notice how the air inside the chamber suddenly seems to thicken, vibrating against your eardrums with a strange, heavy pressure. You are not just experiencing a random architectural echo. You are physically turning the key in the ignition, activating an ancient piece of unseen technology that has been lying completely dormant in the dark for millennia. Malta, the hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, before the dawn of recorded history. Deep beneath the island's surface lies a sprawling, subterranean necropolis carved directly into solid limestone. Imagine a prehistoric transgressor, a known blasphemer, securely bound and dragged violently into the pitch-black, suffocating oracle chamber. Standing hidden in a highly specialized acoustic alcove, the high priest begins to chant in a low, continuous baritone. The ancient acoustic environment does not merely amplify his voice, it actively weaponizes the sound against the fragile mind. The terrified captive tries to speak out, to beg for mercy in the darkness, but the words completely dissolve. Their neurological pathways are being actively jammed by the echoing walls, plunging them into a forced state of paralysis. It is a profound neurological override, mirroring the intense trance states witnessed during traditional rituals in rural Indian villages, where the devotee's conscious identity and ability to speak are completely erased by a sudden, overwhelming, unseen force. But here the story deepens. This acoustic phenomenon is not just folklore or exaggerated ancient mythology passed down through generations. This was a calculated discovery. In archaeoacoustic analyses published in 2008 and 2014, researchers ventured into this Neolithic complex. They did not just bring brushes, they brought highly sensitive modern electroencephalogram equipment directly into the dark stone corridors. They wanted to mathematically map exactly what the oracle chamber was doing to the living human brain during events. The data from the EEG scanners stopped the researchers cold. The internal architecture is flawlessly carved to resonate violently. That resonance occurs at a specific frequency band. That acoustic band sits precisely between 110 and 111 Hz. When a low male voice hits this exact pitch, the acoustic feedback does not just vibrate the ambient air. It physically and chemically alters the recipient's cerebral cortex. The echoing sound waves act as a targeted biological suppressor. The clinical EEG tests conclusively proved that the 111 Hz frequency specifically targets the left hemisphere of the human brain. It rapidly and significantly depresses the neurological activity in the central language center. It literally shuts down the biological machinery required for logical thought, critical analysis, and complex speech production. The victim becomes entirely mute, trapped inside their own head without a voice. They are effectively silenced by the architecture itself before they can even form a single syllable. Simultaneously, the resonant frequency forces a massive, unnatural surge of electrical activity into the right hemisphere. This forces the brain's dominance to shift entirely to the side responsible for intense emotional processing, raw creativity, and vivid, uncontrollable hallucinations. The ancient builders constructed a permanent stone mechanism to artificially induce a severe, inescapable trance-like state. They figured out exactly how to surgically bypass the human ego using nothing but carved rock and manipulated sound waves. We are looking at a highly advanced, terrifying form of prehistoric acoustic neurology. The implications of this discovery are absolutely staggering. They did not just build an elaborate underground tomb for their dead ancestors. They engineered a physical, architectural off-switch for the conscious human mind. Stonehenge. It is arguably the most photographed and heavily debated prehistoric monument on the planet. For centuries, the academic consensus has been rigid and unquestioned. It is a solar calendar. It is a primitive celestial clock. It is an open-air astronomical observatory painstakingly designed to track the summer and winter solstices. But what if the visual alignment with the sun was only a secondary function? What if the primary, most crucial purpose of these massive sarsen stones was entirely invisible to the naked eye? In 2020, Professor Trevor Cox, an acoustics expert at the University of Salford, decided to test a radical and highly unconventional theory. He did not look up at the stars. He looked strictly at the geometric shape and placement of the stones. Inside a highly controlled, completely silent and echoic chamber, his research team painstakingly constructed a perfect 1/12 acoustic scale model of Stonehenge. They recreated the monument exactly as it would have stood 4.00 years ago, complete with all 157 original stones intact. They placed specialized, highly sensitive microphones directly inside the miniature stone circle and blasted precise high-frequency sound waves from various angles. They were waiting to capture a specific acoustic echo. But here is where the accepted history of this ancient monument completely fractures. The raw acoustic data returned from the Salford laboratory model was absolutely staggering. The layout of the massive stones was not random. And it was not purely architectural for visual dominance. It formed a massive, highly efficient, and deliberate sound amplification chamber. The researchers discovered that the tight configuration of the stones generated a very specific reverberation time of exactly 0.6 seconds. In the open air of a grassy plain, sound simply dissipates instantly, but inside this engineered circle, if a high priest stood in the dead center and spoke, played a primitive bone flute, or chanted, the sound did not escape into the vast expanse. The massive, flat-faced megaliths actively caught the escaping sound waves and aggressively bounced them back and forth. The architecture itself amplified human voices and percussive music, creating a powerful, booming, and immersive acoustic environment. It would have felt incredibly overwhelming and undeniably supernatural to anyone standing inside the inner ring. The builders had essentially constructed a prehistoric amplifier turned completely inward upon itself. But the most disturbing detail lies in the monument's acoustic isolation. When Professor Cox's team measured the sound penetrating from the outside in, the acoustic meters registered a dramatic drop. The specific, tightly packed arrangement of the outer sarsen circle and the inner bluestone horseshoe acted as a flawless, impermeable acoustic shield. It effectively blocked everyday environmental noise from entering the sacred center. More importantly, it completely prevented any sound created inside the circle from being clearly heard by anyone standing just outside. This scientific fact completely destroys the long-held romanticized image of a massive, inclusive public gathering. Stonehenge was not built for a crowd of thousands to witness a ritual. It was an elite, acoustically sealed chamber. The ancient architects engineered a massive physical and acoustic firewall. They created a private, artificially amplified world for a select few standing in the very center, while the thousands of ordinary people standing just a few meters away in the dirt were left completely deaf to the immense power being generated inside Chichén Itzá, Mexico. The Temple of Kukulkan, a massive, terrifying four-sided limestone pyramid dedicated to the feathered serpent deity. Tourists gather here annually, focusing purely on the visual architecture to watch shadows slither down the stairs like a living god during the equinoxes. But they are missing the pyramid's most disturbing secret. Imagine standing alone at the base of the main staircase, expecting only the heavy humidity of the surrounding jungle. You strike your hands together in a single, aggressive clap. What returns from the summit temple doorway, hundreds of feet above, is not a simple, dull, stone echo. It is a high-pitched, throbbing chirp, an unmistakable, unsettling mimicry of the resplendent Quetzal, the mystical bird revered across Mesoamerica as the sacred messenger of the Mayan gods. But here come another disturbing detail. This phenomenon is not an architectural coincidence or dynamic jungle acoustics. It is a ruthless calculation made in stone. Studies presented to the Acoustical Society of America in 1998 and 2004 reveal the calculated precision required for this sonic stealth technology. The specific staircase geometry was deliberately engineered to act as a sophisticated Bragg scattering mechanism. When a sudden pulse of sound, like a sharp clap, strikes the limestone rises, The precise spacing forces the sound waves to split, diffraction, and shift in frequency. Sound is actively re-engineered by the architecture itself into a digital conviction of divinity. Did the Maya construct this colossal pyramid with the specific mathematical intention of manipulating human teens' arch perception, effectively forging a physical off-switch for logical reality? You do not necessarily need to travel to Mesoamerica to trigger this precise type of ancient cloaking technology. The next time you visit an ancient, enclosed stone stepwell, or a fortified fort gatehouse in India, pay attention to repetitive, highly structured linear patterns in staircases or ceilings carved from hard rock. Stand at the logical center, create a sudden, sharp, aggressive clap, and immediately close your eyes to isolate your teen's arch senses. Do not listen for a standard echo doi lie. Listen very closely for a ringing quality, a metallic tang, or a strange throb in the air that changes pitch. If you detect that unnatural acoustic signature, you have found an inactive guardian, a stealth system designed to cloak visual reality. Peru, Chichén Itzá, high in the remote, oxygen-starved altitudes of the Andes Mountains sits a sprawling, 3.00-year-old ceremonial center. From the outside, it appears as a massive, imposing complex of stone platforms and sunken circular plazas. But the true horror of Chichén lies hidden beneath the earth. Imagine a young initiate, terrified and deeply disoriented, being led away from the open air and forced down into a subterranean labyrinth known as the underground galleries. The darkness is absolute, heavy, and suffocating. The air is incredibly thin and freezing cold. Suddenly, a sound erupts. It is the deep, guttural, terrifying roar of the pututu, a massive conch shell trumpet similar to the sacred shankar, but amplified to an apocalyptic scale. The sound does not just echo down the corridor, it surrounds the initiate completely. It vibrates aggressively through the floor, screams from the ceiling, and crashes violently into their chest from every angle. They cannot pinpoint the source. They cannot tell if the sound is coming from a priest standing 10 feet away, or if a massive, subterranean god is screaming directly into their skull. They lose all sense of physical space and direction. They are completely, helplessly trapped in an engineered auditory hallucination. But none of that is the deepest mystery. This overwhelming psychological breakdown was not an accident of primitive cave acoustics. It was a highly sophisticated, weaponized architectural filtering. Between 2012 and 2019, Miriam Kohler from Stanford University conducted extensive archaeoacoustic research inside these terrifying underground galleries. Her findings revealed a staggering level of prehistoric psychoacoustic engineering. The ancient builders did not just dig random tunnels. They constructed a highly complex, interconnected architectural acoustic filter network. They carefully calculated the dimensions, angles, and surface textures of the stone corridors to perfectly match and violently resonate with the specific acoustic frequencies produced by the pututu shells. When the priests blew these horns inside the galleries, the architecture itself stripped the sound waves of their directional cues. It intentionally destroyed the human brain's natural ability to locate the source of a noise. The stone corridors mutated a simple trumpet blast into the disembodied, omnidirectional roar of the gods. The creators of Chichén Itzá understood exactly how to break the human mind using nothing but manipulated sound and claustrophobic architecture. They engineered an environment where sensory deprivation was suddenly and violently shattered by an incomprehensible acoustic assault. This was not a space built for peaceful meditation or joyous communal worship. It was a massive, subterranean machine designed specifically for psychological dominance. The priests controlled the sound, and therefore, they controlled the absolute reality of anyone trapped in the dark below. They possessed the terrifying ability to induce instant panic, total disorientation, and absolute submission through the sheer physical force of architectural resonance. It is a chilling example of prehistoric psychological operations, proving that the ancients did not need modern electronics to manipulate the masses. They only needed a profound understanding of how the human brain processes sound, and the architectural brilliance to turn solid mountain rock into a weapon of mass disorientation. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. We arrive at the apex of the ancient world. Standing isolated on the Giza Plateau, it is universally taught as the ultimate architectural triumph of the pharaohs, a mathematically perfect tomb designed to secure eternal life for a single ruler. The sheer scale of the limestone blocks and the astronomical alignments dominate every conversation about its purpose. The King's Chamber, located deep within the center of the massive structure, is supposedly the quiet, undisturbed resting place of Khufu. But what if the accepted historical narrative has completely misidentified the core function of the greatest monument ever built? Because the tomb wasn't the real story. Imagine a team of modern acoustic engineers standing inside the King's Chamber. They activate a specialized tone generator, slowly sweeping through the lower frequency ranges. As the dial hits a very specific low hum, something terrifying happens. The researchers do not just hear the sound echoing off the walls. They physically feel the air pressure inside the room suddenly and violently change. Their chests tighten. It becomes distinctly harder to breathe. A heavy, oppressive vibration takes hold of the entire granite enclosure, pushing physically against their bodies. The massive stone chamber is not dead weight, it is reacting. It is waking up. This is not the acoustics of a silent crypt. This is the unmistakable, physical signature of an active, highly engineered machine. The secret lies not in the shape of the pyramid, but in the specific, unyielding material chosen for its core. Independent acoustic resonance surveys, initially conducted by a Princeton University consortium in 1994 and further updated by the Old Temple Study Foundation in 2022, zeroed in on the exact composition of the King's Chamber. The ancient builders completely abandoned the standard local limestone used for the exterior. Instead, they transported massive, incredibly heavy blocks of rose granite from Aswan, hundreds of miles away, just to line this one specific room. They chose this rose granite for a very specific, highly technical reason. It is heavily saturated with quartz crystal. This makes the stone piezoelectric under immense pressure, or when subjected to specific acoustic vibrations. This crystalline granite literally generates a measurable electrical charge. The King's Chamber is not a burial vault. It is a massive, insulated piezoelectric transducer. The researchers discovered that the dimensions of the room are perfectly calibrated to generate and sustain incredibly powerful standing waves. When activated, the chamber produces a dominant acoustic resonance precisely measured between 112 and 117 Hz. This is not a random echo. This exact frequency range, driven through piezoelectric stone, is known to have a profound, measurable physical impact on human biology. It alters cellular behavior, affects heart rhythms, and shifts brainwave patterns. The Great Pyramid is not a passive monument to the dead. The evidence points to an active, colossal machine designed to harness acoustic energy, convert it into an electromagnetic field via quartz-rich granite, and physically alter the biology of anyone placed inside the resonance chamber. We are looking at an incomprehensible level of prehistoric bioengineering, a machine powered by sound that defies every single textbook explanation of the ancient Egyptian world. From the suffocating granite depths of Bihar in India to the towering piezoelectric mass of the Giza Plateau, these monuments stand as silent proof of a terrifyingly advanced acoustic science. By carving solid rock to perfectly lock in specific resonant frequencies like 34, 4 and 111 Hz, the ancient builders engineered permanent physical mechanisms to actively override the human nervous system? Are we simply looking at the lucky architectural accidents of primitive religious rituals, or the surviving remnants of a global, prehistoric neurological technology that humanity has completely forgotten how to turn on?